Welcome to another video. This video is going to take us on a trip that is going to last about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm heading out to the airport, and this will be a trip that will span 107 kilometers. We are going to use xNGP, and I'm going to activate that anytime now. Here we go. Now xNGP has not been activated yet. It's still doing LCC, and it's going to get itself into a tricky situation because that car was basically, and it can't find exactly which track, so I need to bring it in. So there you go. Immediately we've got a gotcha. So hopefully we should get NGP starting anytime now. We're still in LCC, so watch out for when we switch from LCC to NGP, because NGP allows us now to have the car in sort of quasi level 2, level 3. Sometimes it delays a bit before it activates, even though this is supposed to be a road that has NGP service on. It's been a well-mapped road, so we don't need to have to wait that long to have the service activate, but it's taking quite a bit of time. This is one of the problems that you would, encounter when you've got this capability, because the car needs to get connectivity to the Xpeng data centers in order to have the service be activated. So it will struggle if the connectivity is not good. We are supposed to be on okay, well, we don't have 5G service, or we have got 5G service over there, so we should have the service activate automatically, almost instantly, but it has delayed, and I'm going to let it do its own thing. I might probably signal, turn on the signal indicator manually to let it switch lane, and then increase the speed limit just so that we don't get stuck behind this truck. Okay, so I've signaled to change lane. This stretch of the road is going to take us 37 kilometers, and it's supposed to be a freeway all the way through. The speed limit now is 100. There are sections of the highway where the speed limit changes to 120. Currently we are 100, so we are within the speed limit, and of course, because this is busy hour, you would expect that there would be a bit of traffic on the highway. We are still on LCC. This is the highway G94, and G94 is a highway that is covered with NGP capability. The car has still not activated NGP, even though I am activating NGP. I've already activated NGP as part of using the action on the dial. So it is still puzzling that it has still not been able to activate NGP. Hopefully it should soon. Okay, so now we've got NGP. If you had, there was a little chime in the background, that signal that NGP now is active. So we should have the car now be able to do what it's supposed to do on the highway: overtake, catch up with the speed limit. The speed limit has also been updated, so now we are on the stretch that is 120. So we should be seeing the car then do its make its own decisions whilst we monitor and oversee those decisions. The good thing about this trip is that we are green all through. There is no projection of traffic, or at least as at this moment, there's no projected traffic anywhere on the route. I hope it remains so that we could have a smooth sail all the way through. I get very worried about this particular route, which is taking me from Shenzhen all the way through to Guangzhou. And I intend to use the Guangzhou International Airport to travel tonight. On this trip, I want to get back home to sort of touch base with family. And I cannot fly from Shenzhen Airport because the flights there don't support the airlines that I would like to fly with. So I tend to drive to Guangzhou or head out to Hong Kong to fly out of there, because there you've got a choice of many more airlines with much more frequency of flights. I expect that in the future, near future at least, Shenzhen Airport or Shenzhen International Airport will perhaps catch up and also have a lot more of the flavor of airlines that I like, be able to fly through there, because that will certainly be a great relief. But I think that would take quite a bit of time, because a lot of airlines will have normally a limited number of locations that they would want to fly to for a country. And those locations become like hubs within the country, and Guangzhou is one of those big hubs. Beijing is another one. Shanghai is another one, and a few others. I made a few modifications to my gear, spent about a few dollars to get a wireless label, so I hope you guys can hear better my voice, because I think the other videos were not exactly very good with regards to the audio quality. I hope that at least this time it is going to be better. You can hear me much more distinctly. If it is not, then I need to certainly do a big overhaul. And I think with that, I need you guys to support me with some subscriptions and some likes to support the creation of these videos, and also to bring you some sort of insight on how the touted technology from Xpeng actually performs. Because a lot of you in Europe have asked questions around when the capability will be coming to Europe, or that, you know, the capability that is, even from an LCC point of view, is smoother in based on my videos than it is in Europe, and you would expect that because there's a lot more data that Xpeng has on the local scene. It doesn't have that same level of data within Europe. Secondly, the road network in China, as I always say, is very good. Lane demarcation is absolutely splendid. Lane width is also very splendid. It's pretty good. So this makes it quite a bit of an advantage with regards to this specific technology from this specific company. Ability to work very well in China. A lot of the training data set that supports the technology also is very native to the scene in China. So it will be a bit of a challenge. It will take a bit more time for them to be able to get that data set within a lot of the European countries. Apart from that, there are regulatory hurdles that they need to scale, including access to data, the way they process data from consumers or from car owners, because there's a lot of data they are collecting of the car to enable them process the data in the data centers. A lot of the capability we see with regards to xNGP do not run locally within the car, because just the experience that I shared earlier with not being able to switch to xNGP because of the fact that either there was a connectivity issue or there was an issue at the Xpeng data centers. So as a result of that, the car was not able to switch to xNGP mode, which anyone would consider as strange, because you're buying the car thinking that the software has been rolled out on the car. So local, self-driving capability, even for level 2, level 3, should be able to run locally. Well, that's not exactly the case, right? So without the data center connectivity, a lot of the policy instructions are not available to the car. A lot of the decisions that the car needs by way of processing information from all the sensors, the sensor fusion and then the complementary support to execute, will be running off the data center. So with that, Xpeng basically relies on the data centers to process a lot of the customer data, because again, I'm driving, it's my data. That data needs to go back to and it's not everything that goes back to the data center, but there's a significant amount of those decision-making, data that would need a data center processing overhead to support. Now, this car is supposed to be equipped with 508 TOPS, so one would basically be asking very good questions as to why and what are all that processing power being used for. It's a good question. It's a question I keep asking myself, and I find it quite strange, perhaps disingenuous to the fact that, we are purchasing a lot of hardware as part of the cost of the car, but find out that the car effectively is not able to optimize use of that hardware to deliver the experience that it's touted to deliver. Without a data center, some of these experiences will not be there. So part of that, has to be implemented in European countries, and I suspect that for every country there might be the regulatory requirement to implement, local data center services without necessarily supporting having to move the control of data and the processing of the data outside different locations. But again, that's a nuance that Xpeng would need to find ways to address. But yeah, so those asking about how exactly the experience is here, or the experience they see with my videos seem to be better or more refined than that in Europe. This is currently the situation. Xpeng needs to implement a lot of the capabilities within their data centers to enable support and deliver this level of experience that you see in my videos. Now, the other catch to it is that the experience you're seeing from the video can look seamless or smooth, but it is not exactly the case. There are cases where it is actually not as smooth as the videos perceive. For instance, a situation where the car is actually going slower than the road conditions permit. So it creates a bit of an inconvenience for the guys that are driving behind you, or for other traffic users or other road users. And all those kind of situations sort of in the real experience from a driver's point of view can be a bit disconnecting, but you might not perceive that on a video that has been shot. So I would suspect that maybe the same experience you're having over there, you might perhaps be perceiving it differently in my videos. But yeah, it might be that certainly the experience here is better. So far, this is no challenge. This is something LCC can do so far. We've been on a highway, we've been on a lane, it stayed in the lane all through. So I totally think that you might not even be experiencing the real, all the other capabilities that is told of the NGP system. I could easily have executed this journey so far with LCC. When I feel like overtaking, I put on the turn signal, indicate to which direction I want to overtake, and the car would effectively just do a quick watch, if conditions allow, execute that instruction. The only difference between me actuating the turn signal to make to overtake or to make a turn, and the car doing it, is just the fact that I am now governing and having that governance oversight, versus situations where the car has to make that determination based on the collection of information around, and then of course what the road conditions permit. Doing a route check, we seem still to be green all the way through, so that's a good thing. Projected time of arrival is 7:47, and so far we've got about 86 more km to clear. My power utilization now is reading about 17.9 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, and this is so far being the record for the past 36 minutes that I've been driving. We are cruising about 90 km per hour between 80, 90. The speed limit on the road is still 120. We had a chance to be able to switch lanes before this section. The car did not. I hope that after this section is cleared, because it's a guarded track, with a continuous line on each side. So the policy on the car is that you cannot change lanes or cross, a continuous line. So I hope that once we clear this section and it gets the chance to do an overtake, which is about any time now, that it will definitely do that. Okay, but yeah, okay. So the guy left the this lane, the inner lane, so we could certainly speed up and occupy the full speed limit. I am trying to reposition my Lavelle mic. Hopefully it should sound better. I don't know whether it was sounding better before. I couldn't do a quick check, but I hope it does. All right, we're back to 100 speed limit. So the car is going to cap its speed to 100. And hopefully once we clear the traffic check cameras, we will be back to 120. Okay, we are already back to 120 on the section of the road. So let's see if it will basically recognize that and execute accordingly, because now it's capped. Okay, so now it's picked that up. So back to 120. Now, a lot of people will also be thinking or asking the question in the minds as to whether the car can actually self-drive beyond 120. That capability to do that within the speed limit is based on its ability to process all the data and then make a good level of projection that allows the car to predict enough of the track ahead and also to be able to stop as quickly as possible if there is a danger. So currently the capability is able to support up to 130 kilom, I think. I could be wrong, it could be more, but I know that I have tested up to 130 kilom, where the car basically hits the limit with regards to the self-driving capability of xNGP. So I hope that maybe in the future that can be improved, especially for Europe, where you could have, for instance, on the autobahn there is no speed limit, at least for a better part of it. And so you would actually be able to run the whole speedom, without having to actually be capped to any of these speed limits that you'd have in China. Now, China's speed limit management is very strictly, adhered to, and purchasing a lot of hardware as part of the cost of the car, but find out that the car effectively is not able to optimize use of that hardware to deliver the experience that it's touted to deliver. Without a data center, some of these experiences will not be there. So part of that, has to be implemented in European countries. And I suspect that for every country, there might be the regulatory requirement to implement, local data center services without necessarily supporting having to move the control of data and the processing of the data outside different locations. But again, that's a nuance that Xpeng would need to find ways to address. But yeah, so those asking about how exactly, the experience is here, or the experience they see with my videos seem to be better or more refined than that in Europe. This is currently the situation. Xpeng needs to implement a lot of the capabilities within their data centers to enable support and deliver this level of experience that you see in my videos. Now, the other catch to it is that the experience you're seeing from the video can look seamless or smooth, but it is not exactly the case. There are cases where it is actually not as smooth as the videos perceive. For instance, a situation where the car is actually going slower than the road conditions permit. So it creates a bit of an inconvenience for the guys that are driving behind you, or for other traffic users or other road users. And all those kind of situations sort of in the real experience from a driver's point of view can be a bit disconnecting, but you might not perceive that on a video that has been shot. So I would suspect that maybe the same experience you're having over there, you might perhaps be perceiving it differently in my videos. But yeah, it might be that certainly the experience here is better. So far, this is no challenge. This is something LCC can do so far. We've been on a highway, we've been on a lane, it stayed in the lane all through. So I totally think that you might not even be experiencing the real, all the other capabilities that is told of the xNGP system. I could easily have executed this journey so far with LCC. When I feel like overtaking, I put on the turn signal, indicate, to which direction I want to overtake, and the car would effectively just do a quick watch, if conditions allow, execute that instruction. The only difference between me actuating the turn signal to make to overtake or to make a turn, and the car doing it, is just the fact that I am now governing and having that governance oversight, versus situations where the car has to make that determination based on the collection of information around, and then of course what the road conditions permit. doing a route check, we seem still to be green all the way through, so that's a good thing. Projected time of arrival is 7:47, and so far we've got about 86 more km to clear. My power utilization now is reading about 17.9 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, and this is so far being the record for the past 36 minutes that I've been driving. We are cruising about 90 km per hour, between 80 90. The speed limit on the road is still 120. We had a chance to be able to switch lanes before this section. The car did not. I hope that after this section is cleared, because it's a guarded track, with a continuous line on each side. So the policy on the car is that you cannot change lanes or cross, a continuous line. So I hope that once we clear this section and it gets the chance to do an overtake, which is about any time now, that it will definitely do that. Okay, but yeah, okay. So the guy left the this lane, the inner lane, so we could certainly speed up and occupy the full speed limit. I am trying to reposition my Lavelle mic. Hopefully it should sound better. I don't know whether it was sounding better before. I couldn't do a quick check, but I hope it does. All right, we're back to 100 speed limit. So the car is going to cap its speed to 100. And hopefully once we clear the traffic check cameras, we will be back to 120. Okay, we are already back to 120 on the section of the road. So let's see if it will basically recognize that and execute accordingly, because now it's capped. Okay, so now it's picked that up. So back to 120. Now, a lot of people will also be thinking or asking the question in the minds as to whether the car can actually self-drive beyond 120. That capability to do that within the speed limit is based on its ability to process all the data and then make a good level of projection that allows the car to predict enough of the track ahead and also to be able to stop, as quickly as possible if there is a danger. So currently the capability is able to support up to 130 kilom, I think. I could be wrong, it could be more, but I know that I have tested up to 130 kilom, where the car basically hits the limit with regards to the self-driving capability of xNGP. So I hope that maybe in the future that can be improved, especially for Europe, where you could have, for instance, on the autobahn there is no speed limit, at least for a better part of it, and so you would actually be able to run the whole speedom, without having to actually be capped to any of these speed limits that you'd have in China. Now, China's speed limit management is very strictly, adhered to. And there is a caveat that you can only have a maximum short burst of about 10% more. And that has also been implemented as part of the xNGP system. So I could, for instance, on the screen now, tell the car that it can go up to the max 10% over the speed limit, which means that now it can, for instance, go and hit about 130 kilom approximated max without throttling or sticking to the 120. So now you can see that it's doing more. It's going 123, 127. We'll hit 130 and cap it there, and that's it. Okay, it would stick to that and not go beyond that. And I suspect that that is also because of what the regulations, require. So maybe it's a mixture of both the capability of processing all that information in time to be able to respond to emergency situations on the highway, and also a part to the speed limit conditions that have been set on the highways in China. Okay, so yes, so that was done by the car itself. Perception was poor, so it had to flash. Also, the car in front was being signaled automatically, which is a feature within the car that, when it's doing an overtake or when it's about to do an overtake, it can flash the headlights, but not in all situations, but in certain situations where perception is important. So you need a much more clearer road in order to make a decision. It's allowed to flash the headlight or turn the headlight to high beam, get a good, feel of the road ahead, and then use that to make a decision. So that was done by the car itself. All right, so I'm going to take that feature off, the 10% extra that you could. I don't need it. The road is pretty good and clear so far. So I think I can stay well within that speed limit and maintain that consistently through. So I needed to turn that back to 0% overage of the speed limit. All right, we've got 2.3 more kilometers on that 37-kilometer stretch that we were on before we make a big turn, or we make a turn completely. So countdown, once we hit 1.2 kilom, we certainly would be beginning the process of making that turn. Fortunately, that means that we actually will be enjoying a pretty good, smooth trip all the way through to Guangzhou. In about 800 meters, we will be taking the exit. We are already negotiating our way on the right track to make that exit. And the car started doing that around 1.5 kilom to the exit. Sometimes within the city, it's constrained to do that in 1.2 kilometers. But given that it's a highway and also those other tracks on the highway have been guarded with lane markings that allows no change of lane. So the earlier it did that, the better. We are now on the exit, and this exit is going to take us to G35. G35. This is a big intersection, so you can see actually the exchange is actually quite a huge one, and we are negotiating quite well. I can leave that on so folks can actually enjoy the perspective view also. It's a very nifty sort of rendering, which gives you a 3D or a bird's eye view of the road network. You can see all the elevations and how the roads actually intersect. And it's an actual accurate representation of the road itself. It's a digital twin of the road with all the number of tracks, rendered accordingly, with all the lane markings included. All right, we are on G35. This stretch is supposed to run for 8.4 kilom. We are still projected to arrive around 7:46, and we're doing well so far. We've sort of shaved off 1 minute. Not bad. Perhaps that was because of the fact that I allowed the car to exceed the speed limit over there, to go beyond the 120. So we were able to grab some 1 minute extra. I really do hope that the voice is clear this time, and folks are not going to be hearing a very poor sort of audio. Nevertheless, if it's not good enough when I'm doing the processing, I'll try to amplify and address the audio issue sometime pretty soon by getting additional equipment or getting the right equipment. A lot of you have asked that I talk through because the voiceover actually makes the video interesting, even though normally I would love to, allow people to sort of get a sense of feeling of the car doing its stuff, from their own, view of or their own perception of the video. But I think that also talking through does add some, additional context which might be missing. So I do hope that, I don't blab outside the scope of what is expected, that I maintain as much as possible full focus on the what exactly we're doing, and let you guys make your own judgment of the experience of the car doing the stuff. Now it's been trying to overtake or change lane to the inner lane for quite a while, but this car was actually making it impossible. Now it's got that chance, so it is negotiating that change of lane. The speed limit on this section of the road is 120. We are now doing about sub 100. I'm kind of thinking that it should, be able to negotiate a change of lane so that we could overtake quickly. Perception on the road is that it can sense 2 cars. Now it senses 5 cars. So why? Okay, so let's see if after clearing these cars, it can perhaps make that decision quickly. But it has not, because the road actually ends with regards to this stretch. The G35 stretch actually ends almost in the next about 2 kilometers. So the car again needs to negotiate to the exit track in order that it can successfully make the exit. Okay, so 1.2 kilometers to the exit. It certainly needs to make sure that it is on the right track, and it is. This car is also trying to make that same exit, so it had to decelerate there. Deceleration sometimes is a bit very harsh. I hope that can be improved. This is the S18 exit, or the entrance to S18 actually. Okay, it is trying to overtake. right, so there you have it on another stretch of the highway that is going to take us about 50 kilo. There seems to be no speed limit on this road, even though the car is currently on 80 max. I technically can shoot it or let it shoot beyond that. Well, we've got speed markings stating that we can do 120 on the inner lane, but not certainly on the outer lane. So, well, we've got a speed limit capture, so with that, it can certainly quickly ramp up, and we've already hit the speed limit. The next exit is in 50 km, so we should be having a pretty smooth sail on this particular route. It's not occupied, it's barely busy. There is also an opportunity to use the convenience center, which is in 2.8 km, because I need to use the bathroom. If it continues to use this track, then I will not need to disengage. I could fool it to switch to the other, to sort of make an exit, but it's already negotiated itself to the middle lane. We are 1.8 kilometers to a convenience or a rest place. So somewhere along the line, I need to disengage and switch to normal mode driving or take over, because there is no option for me to actually, tell it to negotiate itself to the exit lane in order that we can successfully be able to go to the rest place. So yeah, we are 1 kilometer to the rest place. It's switched over to the fast lane, and that's certainly not what we want. So we need to sort of disengage. Unfortunately, need to make a dirty crossover. Apologies for that. These are some of the inconveniences with trying to showcase the capability of the car through these videos. It's a pretty secluded rest spot. Well, I do know where exactly the bathrooms are. I could park here, and I will be back. All right, so we are done at the rest stop. Let's get back.
Enjoy the drive. 100米后左转，左转，随后立即右转。
Okay, I was thinking it would be able to negotiate itself on the since it was able to recover that. I was thinking it was yeah, it was able to drive. So anyway, I am gonna activate. LCC is activated. Let's see how long it takes to switch to NGP. All right, it switched to xNGP now, so it can change lanes. We're back on the road. 45 more kilometers on this stretch. We are still green all the way through, hopefully. All right, that was slow change of lane because the guy behind me was sort of flashing. The speed limit on this section of the road is 120, and so far the car is able to actually deliver all that speed. Again, it's a pretty empty highway, so we are completely able to maximize the speed limit without much concerns. Also, I observe that a lot of these night videos are quite dark. I'm using the first generation Osmo Action. I'm hoping that I will be, I'll be able to get more views, more subscriptions to sort of motivate me to pick up the Action 5, the Osmo Action 5, or to pick up the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. So it's sort of like weighing, which one of them to select, but I still need to make sure that at least there is enough interest on the channel to enable me provide more recordings of my drive of the Xpeng fleet, and also to showcase the self-driving capability within China, especially from Xpeng. I might be also adding a bit more number of other cars to the fleet, especially there's been a lot about the the HIMA series, and this is the consortium that Huawei is a part of, and is sort of currently delivering the ADS 3.0, which is Autonomous Driving System 3.0, a solution from Huawei that is now available in a couple of vendor cars, like the Avatar, the Luxeed, the Ito, and a few others that are implementing the Huawei ADS stack. And I can tell you that that stack is also very good. In fact, that stack is now the number one in China with regards to capability and skills that it has for self-driving. Xpeng was actually number one because it was pioneer for the technology in China and has the exclusivity. Xpeng had the exclusivity for at least for 2 years. So after that, it was now open. The regulations now allowed new entrants to play within that market. And I think that Tesla will be able to have FSD in China at the end of this year. That's what I read. I don't know whether it's going to be true or not, since it's now Elon is now meddling with showing his face completely as within politics. I don't know how that affects his ability to negotiate some of these things within China. But of course, what's been communicated and what I see again as part of the Tesla China publication is that at the end of this year, FSD would be something you can buy or you can subscribe to within China. Let's see whether that materializes. Yeah, so back to the choice of the current camera. Yeah, my hope is that at least if I switch to Osmo Action 5 from DJI or switch to the Ace Pro 2, you could get a better night time rendering, because I think it's a bit dark. I've seen some of the footage. I tried to do a bit of a processing. I don't know whether I'm doing a good job at those. I know that they certainly don't look great, but of course I'm trying to bring you guys content. So anything I can do to help, I am doing now. But if I also do get the support that is needed, then of course I can boost the camera quality with the purchase of one of those cameras from either Insta360 or from DJI. I don't know about GoPro, but we could certainly think about GoPro too. But it's all a matter of how the channel performs, and then also the feedback and support that I get, especially with subscriptions and then likes or interactions with the channel. So far, so good. We had a 54-kilometer stretch. We are now down to 30 more ahead of us for this particular section of the road. It's quite an empty road, and also you are experiencing the car do both a left and right lane change. This is the state of the art with regards to my best experience of Xpeng xNGP all the time, especially on this track or tracks like these. The car executes flawlessly. It's able to make change lanes, maximize the speed limit. But you could argue that the road is practically empty. This is not a challenging road, right? This is not a challenging track. But of course, the fact that it can free me to relax and it can demonstrate a certain level of confidence on the highway to execute these skills, I think it's good enough for for this particular kind of drive. And this is what I tell a lot of folks. So if you're a long distance commuter and your commute is always on stretches of highways that are almost always like these, less occupied, you are totally making a good investment in xNGP. But if not, and you're doing a lot of city commute, xNGP certainly would be too much of a thing to babysit, because we are effectively babysitting the technology now, right? It's not a technology that is so mature that you could completely trust it, with absolute, hands off, eyes off kind of experience, which is what level 5 or level 4, level 5 self-driving is supposed to be marketing, as the capability. Hands off, eyes off, right? Now we're not having that level of confidence by way of the technology to do that. My hand is on the steering at all times, especially given that it is able to run as far as or maximize its speed as far as 120 km is concerned. The slightest move the car makes that you're not in attention can result in some major fatality. So my hands are on the steering all the time. In fact, with a bit of a slight tug on the steering, in order to make sure that at least I've got control of the actions it's taken. And if, for instance, some guy is driving a Ferrari or a Lambo or perhaps a Porsche that is driving recklessly fast behind me and making some very clever lane changes, and of course this car might not perceive that in time to predict that kind of the move, I would be ready to quickly disengage and take over. So this is one of the reasons why the manufacturer and a lot of the manufacturers, based on regulatory mandate, ensure that they communicate this very clearly to the end user. As at now, with this kind of capability, the car is only augmenting the driver's oversight or the driver's control. It is not taking full control and responsibility of the drive. So I don't know why it started just taking my words and trying to sort of crazy, yeah. So that's called Xiaopi, right? That's little p, it's called, and I'm sure that you guys in Europe would perhaps be using the name little p to signal it to wake up. I never called it, but it seemed to certainly have woken up and trying to catch what I'm saying. So the car ahead of us is doing about 100, and the car beside that in the middle lane is also doing about 100. So the only free lane is the outer lane, and it's okay. Well, the car in the middle lane is now moving faster. So I hope that we do have a perception opportunity to do a lane change to overtake this car right in front of us. We are still following the car right in front of us. The car is still doing about 100. The road permits 120, but the decision to overtake the car has not happened. What is the car waiting for? Is a question that you would ask. It's a question that I'm asking myself. What is the car waiting for? The road is clear to the right to be able to signal and change lanes, and then be able to overtake the car in front of us. But it is not overtaken. This is one of those scenarios where you clearly can see that there is a manual override on the car's ability, or there is a guardrail hidden somewhere within the stack to stop the car from overtaking. And what exactly that is could be, a number of things. One, it could be that the highway mapping is different from what the car is perceiving. So as a result, the constraint on the car might be hidden, and we might definitely not have visibility over it. So as a result of that, we are not able to, from a user point of view, provide good explanation as to why the car can effectively be able to max out the speed limit, but it is caught following the car in front of us that is going about 100. Okay, so I'll signal it now to do I signaled it to do the change of lanes. and it has changed lanes. So one would ask that, why was the car not doing that before? And this happens quite often, that you see that there is a constraint, an invisible constraint on the car from a user's point of view or from the driver's point of view that does not match with the, first of all, your preference. Because my preference as part of the settings in the car is to maximize speed and be able to overtake left, right at any point in time. So now there's a governor, there's a governing policy that is overriding that preference that I have, which, if in normal circumstances, it should be such that, you should be able to explain every decision the car makes. Explainability is a very important part of having, these technologies be autonomous. If explainability is not good, you tend to have little trust in the car, because it's doing something that you cannot fathom why exactly it's doing that. It could do another thing, that you cannot be able to explain. And if you do not have good level of explainability for everything the car does, then you cannot trust the car 100%, because that means that there's an invisible hand that's controlling the car. Right? Now it's going to make a lane change appropriately, because it could sense the car ahead was going slower, which is good. But why wasn't it doing that before, right? Okay, so this guy is also doing around 90 on a road that is supposed to be 120, on a track that is supposed to be between 100 and 120. Let's see if the car makes the decision to be able to overtake. Well, there's a guy that is right in our tail and now just overtook us. There's another guy also trying to overtake us. The road is clear now. It signaled it wants to make a change. There's a guy creeping up on us, but it's able to make that change of lane. Yeah. And then it's able to perceive the car in front of us also going slower, and then make a change of lane. The time is 7:42. The projected time that we had was to be able to arrive around 7:47. But if you all recall, I had to do a rest stop. So that accounts for about 15 minutes of time lost. So we need to sort of add up 15 minutes to the previous projected time. And it's still looking good, because projected arrival will be around 7:58 p.m. which still gives us ample time to do our check-in routine. But again, it's pretty much an empty road. I'm seeing a little red on the map to show that there could be some traffic ahead, but so far so good. Right, so the speed limit on this section has been dropped to 80. The car is maintaining that, limit, even though others can move faster. But that's fine, because we still have a lot of time left on our clock to deal with airport formalities. good. So this is the last stretch to our destination, which is the Guangzhou airport. We are getting to the airport toll gate, and it's been quite a good journey so far. Okay. So there's a message that xNGP is going to be switched off, and it has switched off. We need to look for electric toll because we can do electric toll to avoid having to stay in queue, which is good. So there we go. Okay, so that's a sail. And then we can hit the road. Okay, 3.7 km to reach our parking. Activating. We're still in LCC. Is xNGP going to start anytime soon? xNGP. Come on, xNGP. And by the way, for those who don't know, xNGP stands for Navigation Guided Pilot. Okay, so we are still in LCC. The car, okay, currently switched to xNGP now. So the car should now be able to navigate the different tracks, be able to overtake. Yeah, we need to change lane left. It is indicated that it wants to change lane. It's got a plan for that. Now let's see how that plan fits the real-time circumstance. That wasn't working, so it had to back out. Let's see if it gets another opportunity to do that lane change. It's signaled and it's successful. It's slowing down ridiculously for no reason for an 80 road. Explainability sometimes is not the best, the best of Xpeng. I sense that is because that guy on the right is behaving a bit spuriously, or it wants to change lane. Okay, so maybe that was the reason. All right, so we are on the T2 track, but I need to be on the P2 track because I'm going to park in 2, which is my destination. So I don't understand why it is navigating to this track. I need to go to P2. Let's see. Okay, so it changes lane again. but why would it come to the exit lane when it knew clearly that I was going to P2? These are the stories of a self-driving enthusiast. Okay, it's failed to do the right turn in time, but let's see if we can find another way to get into P2. Actually, this is not where we need to be. We need to be here. So I had to back out. It failed. We need to do another. This is the right track. This is not it. Oh, this is not it. All right, I guess we could use P3. P3 is just about here, so we need to get out of the self-driving mode in order to successfully do this. Right. Okay, so it's idea of where we need to be and where I want to be is different, so I need to back out of it. So well, the trip is effectively, ended. We are at the airport now, trying to get a parking, and it was so far so good, right? I don't know what you think, but leave a comment. Do discuss in the comment section what your thoughts are, and what your experience perhaps is with a similar technology in maybe wherever you are. All right, guys, thank you very much. This pretty much wraps it. All right, cheers.